Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of Around the Paddock. I'm your host, Seb. I've got Nico with me, and you already know what it is. We've got your paddock pass to all things F1 from this past week, and then some. How you doing, Nico?
I'm not doing too bad. How are you?
Good, man. Good. I know we had a little bit of a night out together yesterday in Ottawa.
Still recovering from it.
Shouts out to you.
Oh yeah.
For a good time as always. They will for sure at one point hear them on the show. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we had a good night. We got to talk a little bit about what we're going to discuss this week, especially since the Bahrain pre-test is finally over. Today was the last day, so it's a late recording of Around the Paddock on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. You have anything to say, or you just want to hop right into the formation lap?
I just want to hop right into the formation lap. This has been such an exciting last 3 days, especially for me, for HAAS. Let's just get right into it.
I know. So actually, speaking of HAAS, the very first talking point is,
I know.
And you know what? It's actually something that we need to talk about, because in the last episode, for the Shunt of the Week, we mentioned that, the news with all these clickbaity headlines about like Mazepin leaving, not leaving, blah, 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 right? I think we recorded the last episode. It was on a Friday night.
Yeah,
Literally the next day, HAAS came out.
Was out.
Exactly. HAAS came out and they said that Nikita Mazepin was dropped for the 2022 season.
Still doesn't change my mind about how the news was just peddling information before it was confirmed.
Well, so no. I'm not like, talking against that, but it's just kind of how the timing worked, right? We did a bit of an earlier recording, and then literally the last thing we said for that episode, we got our answer the very next day, right? And I mean, the biggest reason why Nikita Mazepin was dropped was because their sponsor, Uralkali, could no longer provide that sweet cash, which, as we all know, it's king in F1.
I also heard that a lot of the other sponsors pressured Gene as well to drop Nikita and Uralkali because of the Russian connection. Yeah,
and I mean, here's the thing too, right? It's and again, we never like to speak badly on people. Like, this isn't a podcast where we want to hate on other drivers and other people, but the fact of the matter is that if Nikita Mazepin, showed glimpses of extraordinary potential, right, then there's a good chance that HAAS might have actually worked to keep him as a driver.
Yeah.
But I mean, the reality is he struggled a lot in his rookie year. He, compared to Mick Schumacher, his other teammate, who was also a rookie last year, I mean, the difference was really big, right?
It was massive.
I mean, it's a business decision, right? Obviously, he was there for the money that his dad's company, Uralkali, was bringing in. And once that dried up, if he's not going to be pushing the team to be more competitive, then there was no reason to keep him. So, I mean, honestly, we all have our thoughts and opinions, but to Nikita Mazepin, obviously wish him the best for whatever happens to him in the future.
Yeah, and I hope he does well, and hopefully maybe back in F1, but more probably in another series.
I don't want to see that, but again, I'm not gonna like linger too much in this, but I do wish him the best. So with that said, he got dropped. Pietro Fittipaldi was announced as he was going to be the test driver, at least for the first day. But who did they bring back?
They had to bring back the door smasher himself, Kevin Magnussen.
Magnussen, Folk smashed his way right back into the paddock.
Right back into the heart of Gunther Steiner.
Yeah, well, I mean, he seemed really happy. Obviously, Kevin Magnussen, I mean, we'll talk a little bit more in the main race topic, but he's obviously a really skilled driver, brings a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge to the team. I think
fastest lap in day 2 of training.
Well, that's what
testing.
I mean. That's what I mean. Like I'm going to touch a little bit more into that, but just overall, I think for somebody like Mick, right? To have a teammate that has that experience in F1 and obviously has that skill to fight and grab points and take advantage of opportunities when they come up in races. I think it's a positive for him.
Yeah. I do remember reading though that part of the contract with Kevin is that he's not going to be so much a mentor of Mick Schumacher. He's just going to be a straight competitor. So it is going to be interesting to see how things progress now that Mick does have a very, talented, very well experienced teammate, but he's not going to be learning a one from one. I'm not sure how the relationship is going to be from that.
I don't think there's very many teams right now where that happens, right? Like we think it'll happen with Mercedes, Lewis and George, but there's no saying that it'll happen, right? No, it's not like they're not there to mentor each other, but for somebody like Mick to be able to have a competitive benchmark, right?
Yeah,
like a good benchmark to work towards. It's got to be a lot better than what it was last year, right? That's kind of what I mean. I don't mean he's gonna Magnussen is gonna come and mentor Schumacher.
The reason I actually brought it up is because some people thought, at least on Reddit, I was reading that some people thought that Kevin was going to be a mentor to Mick, and it was clarified that that's not going to be the case.
Okay, fair enough. Either way, it's exciting. I'm glad to see him back. Honestly, I was sad when he left at the end of 2020. When he and Grosjean left. Obviously, it was probably the right decision for Haas at the moment, but with the changing circumstances, it's good that he came back, and I mean, I think he's going to push the team, and they're actually going to do really well this season. I'm excited now for Haas. I was a little less really excited, but now I'm excited.
Yeah, no. See, you should have been with me from the start. It's on the record.
Yeah, I know.
It's on the record. Yeah,
I know.
Unfortunately, though, it does seem that Danny Boy has tested positive for COVID-19, eh?
Yeah, so he missed all 3 days of testing.
Yeah. So, what if this is El Plan from Alpine? Because in the photo, that the no war photo, it's Alonso and Ocon are substantially further away from him than some of the best racers. So what if that was El Plan all along? Get everyone infected with Alpine. Yeah. Get everyone infected with COVID. Only Alpine is ready.
Well, I will say this on Danny Rick missing the testing days. I mean, if you followed F1 last season at least, you know that he struggled a lot with the McLaren car, just being in a new team, new environment. So I personally hope that the fact that he was not able to do the testing, that it doesn't really hinder his ability to perform in the season, because I think this is a make or break year for Danny Rick. If he's not competitive, then it's going to be very hard for McLaren to justify keeping him around for the long term, right?
He's so expensive as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? So if Lando's going to be constantly outperforming him, then it's just go with Lando as your number one driver and go for one of the young guys in the feeder series, right? That would deserve it. So I mean, I wish
someone like Oscar Piastri, for example, who's actually going to take his place.
Yeah, so Alpine said that if Danny Rick isn't ready by next week's race, by Bahrain, then Alpine reserve driver Oscar Piastri, who's the former F2 champion from last year, they would make him available to take his place in McLaren. And I think McLaren would take it, but there's nothing set that, I mean, McLaren could take another driver, for example, right?
Yeah, they could take any other driver they really wanted. But that's not already scooped up.
I don't think that McLaren would pick up Oscar Piastri. Like, if they don't re-sign Daniel Ricciardo, Piastri would not go there. Alpine, I think, is going to hold on to him, and he's going to drive for Alpine. He's too talented for any team to just kind of let him go to a rival.
Although I will say that's assuming that, for me at least, that someone like Alonso doesn't have a good year this year. I know we'll get into Alpine later on, but I think if Alonso does really well, I think they might let Piastri pass by to McLaren. But if Alonso's having a lot of issues, I think they might just drop him for Piastri.
I think that would be a dumb decision by Alpine, and no disrespect to Alonso, because I think he's one of the best. But I mean, if you're going to compare a really skilled driver who's 40 years old versus a really skilled driver who's in his early 20s, that has a lot more potential and a longer future down the line, I mean, if I was Alpine, I would be looking at Piastri before any other team snaps him up, because they will regret it if they don't put him in a seat and he goes to another team. Alpine is going to regret it 100%.
I fully agree with you.
But I mean, I wish Danny Rick a speedy recovery, and hopefully we're able to see him for the very first GP next week.
Yeah, let's hope he's there.
And so, Nico, I know you were talking to me about this yesterday, but apparently there was a potential third race in the USA in Las Vegas to replace the Russian GP.
So it seems that since they're not going to do Sochi this year, they're looking at doing a Las Vegas race, or is rumored to be a Las Vegas race, because they haven't confirmed it yet. Which would be really actually quite interesting. I know Las Vegas, especially at night, is it's another thing. So to actually see how like a street race in Vegas would be like Singapore. I think it would be amazing.
I think it'd be cool. I agree. I think it would be cool. And I mean, honestly, if it's gonna be like when they're in North America and stuff, why not, right? Like, just reduce travel time, keep it within the same country, a different locale. So I would.
And I also know that the organization that owns like Formula One, like the right, they want to expand more into the United States. They've said that publicly at this point. So like an extra US race just makes all the sense. And then also, Las Vegas' night would be an amazing race. I mean, I really can't see a reason why they wouldn't just do that. I'm gonna be entirely honest.
No, yeah, I agree 100%. And it's ironic that the Russian GP gets replaced by an American one, but that's a little bit more geopolitical, I guess, than anything else.
And just follow me on this about Ankija race. Colombia has enough time to organize the streets.
Yeah, in a couple months. Just give them a couple months, and because we know that they can get it done in time.
Yes, it's a big election year right now there, and this is not a priority, but they should make it a priority.
Yeah, I think the time for like election promises of that kind is over now at this point.
Yeah, it's well and gone. Yeah,
but so I mean, potential third race in Vegas, that'd be cool. Danny Rick, wish him a speedy recovery. Hopefully he does well, but it would be really, really exciting to see Oscar Piastri drive an F1 car. And a big step up for HAAS. So, I mean, let's move on to the main race, because actually I do, and I'm sure you also do have a couple more things to speak about with HAAS, because I think, at least for me, they're the team that has impressed the most. And I bet you that Gunther Steiner is, grinning from ear to ear.
Oh,
that beautiful smile of his. But so what I'll do real quick, I got some data here just about some basic data points for each of the 3 days of testing. So I'll just kind of say them out, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the things we learned and the things we saw and expect.
So good.
On day 1, Pierre Gasly set the fastest time. Shouts out Pierre.
Yep.
We had
he also did the most laps.
We had Sergio Perez do the most laps as a driver with 138 in day 1.
Okay.
Red Bull was the team with the most laps, so 138 for Perez again, right?
Yeah.
Alpine, well, not Alpine, Alonso, I should say, with 24 laps was the driver with the least amount of laps on that first day, and HAAS was the team with the least amount of laps on that first day.
Yeah.
So day 2, kind of a complete turnaround, because it was Kevin Magnussen, first time back in an F1 car after about a year and a half off, sets the fastest time. So shouts out K-Mag. Then we have Tsunoda with the most laps, so 120, right? Which means AlphaTauri was also the team with the most laps. I mean, it's insane, but I mean, the day before, Perez and Red Bull did 138, right? So, and the team and driver with the least amount of laps was Williams and Latifi with only 12, just because of a fire that happened in the brake ducts, right? So that kind of just hampered their ability to run and get some testing. And then finally for today, day 3, we have Verstappen with the fastest time,
lap. Yeah.
And he set the fastest time of all 3 days.
Yeah.
Then we had Nicholas Latifi with the most laps for a driver with 124. So, I mean, good on Williams for letting him make up that time that he missed yesterday. And, he definitely got locked in a lot of laps.
Oh, yeah.
Alfa Romeo, the team with the most laps today, with 150. So, I mean, I know they were really struggling with in the last couple. In Barcelona and even in the first 2 days. So it's good to see Alfa Romeo be able to get some quality laps in and gather data. And then the least amount of laps for the driver was Alex Albon with 18, and McLaren was the team with the least amount of laps. But take this in, 90. So today, 90 laps was the least amount for a team, which means that obviously everybody was pushing super hard, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, just, I mean, I'll get right into it, considering McLaren was the team with the least amount of laps, but it seems that McLaren has been experiencing some continuous reliability issues, especially with the brake cooling at the front. So they're really fast, like really fast on the straight. Probably one of the faster cars. But it looks like they're having trouble actually stopping the car. And I mean, that's a big problem for them because it's caused them to lose a lot of time. And if they haven't been able, at least by this point, to really pinpoint where the error is and how they can fix it, then we're going to see them struggling for the first part of the season, I think.
No, yeah. I think, and hopefully they get their brake duct cooling fixed by next week, but that could actually be an issue that just plagues them for a while. Because they have to redirect air into the brake duct without reducing their aero efficiency. So it's going to be a bit of a tightrope right there.
No, exactly, and it's a big challenge for F1 engineers in general with these new regulations. And I mean, but that's part of the excitement, right? A limited amount of testing, the different design philosophies. So hopefully it does make it more competitive. But I definitely am also hoping that McLaren is able to kind of figure that stuff out, because I do want to see them fighting at the front of the midfield at the very least, or maybe even fighting for podiums consistently.
Although I have to say, I am horrified, insulted that when you were going through all this data, you didn't say who got the second fastest lap on day 3.
No. Okay. Let me say that the data that I got here was from Reddit. So it was a few Reddit posts that I kind of took some screenshots off to say it. But it was not like it wasn't a list of all the times and everything. They just took the fastest.
I know. The reason I'm saying this, because it was Mick Schumacher.
Yes. Yeah, of course. And I mean, we have it in the show notes here, right? Like, HAAS is looking really competitive, a lot more competitive than anybody thought, right? Kevin Magnussen set the fastest lap on day 2. And I mean, as you said, Mick Schumacher set the second fastest lap on day 3. Obviously, nothing is set in stone, but
no, of course not.
But I mean, in terms of compared with the other teams, I think HAAS did really well, especially considering they kind of blundered it in Barcelona.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you're excited over that prospect.
Very excited.
And I'm honestly hoping that they do well too. HAAS is one of those teams it's just fun to root for.
Yeah, it's the underdog team, right?
Even though I feel like they're one of the unluckiest teams in 100%, general.
100%. Yeah. No, 100%. But no, I'm glad to see HAAS, especially considering last year how poorly it went, and the year before that with the issues that the cars had. Because if I remember, Magnussen said that it's like one of the worst cars he's ever driven. I'm really glad to see that, they're actually, they had the money to develop the car, and now they have the car that's really good and really competitive, and hopefully if they do really well this year, next year they'll have more money.
I mean, the money and time too, right? Because they sacrificed, I think it was like 2 years basically, just to really nail the regulations.
But in F1, cash is king, right? And if you don't have a good sponsor, if you don't have the money to back up a team, like look what happened with Williams. Williams was struggling. They got that new, I think it was a collective. It was like a group of people who went and bought it out. Yeah, conglomerate. Now they're being way more competitive. I mean, last year they were pretty competitive. Some races, at some races,
they were definitely getting better. I mean, from what I saw from their from this last 3 days of practice, I think they're still going to be at the back end of the midfield.
Yeah.
So that's something that we have to wait a little bit more to see. I think this is their second year under new ownership. So obviously kind of hard to expect them to just shoot right out of the gate.
I mean,
it's going to be a multi-year project, but no, like you say, the like money is obviously important for research and development and production. So the more they have, the more they can put into it. Now there's a cap now, right? There's a budget cap.
Yeah, so of course, which is better for the smaller teams.
Is that going to affect them? Like, yeah, sure, it might, because they might not be able to put in as much money. But either way, it's the start of a new season, and these teams, as we go through the races over the weeks, they're going to be able to pick up a lot more data and just be able to make the necessary changes, right?
Yeah.
But tell me, Nico, about Mercedes, your favorite team.
I had such a good transition in my head.
All right, well, give us your transition. Pretend I didn't say anything.
I was going to be like, talking about midfield, like back tier teams like Williams. Let's talk about another back tier team for this year, Mercedes. But let's just hop right into Mercedes. They don't have side pods. Everyone else does. This kind of reminds me of like Hamilton when he went still with like the intermediates, ready to like start the race. Everyone else went into the pit to actually get some, what was it, like,
I think that was Hungary 2021. Yeah.
This is what it reminds me of. Mercedes, like Hamilton embodies like that whole thing. Like I know that design worked really well, and I really hope they kind of do well, because I do like, battling for like the top positions. Like I want competition, but like their car has not looked that great. I like,
it's true.
It just hasn't. Like Ferrari's engines and like all the cars are like Ferrari. Okay, not all the cars, but like the cars with Ferrari engines, like Ferrari and HAAS, they're hitting really high up, and like Mercedes, like I'm not seeing them like really fighting for like the top positions in the testing. And yeah, they might be sandbagging. I mean, that's what Carlos Sainz said, to kind of half quote him, but like it seems weird. I'm just gonna say that it looks weird.
Here's the thing. They kind of dig themselves. It's like the boy who cried wolf. They kind of dig themselves into a corner, because Mercedes is infamous for downplaying their potential and their speed in the first part of the season during testing, right? And obviously with the sandbagging, they just make themselves look not as good. But I mean, anyone that's been watching Formula One for a few years knows that it's the same story that plays out every year, where Mercedes looks bad in testing, and then suddenly the season starts off and they run away with the Constructors and Drivers title, right? So, but that being said, it does seem that they're dealing with a lot of issues, a lot of porpoising still these last 3 days, which a lot of other teams were able to kind of mitigate.
If I'm not wrong, the car is the car that's porpoising the most.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
It seems a bit difficult to drive and a bit difficult to kind of be flat out on the straights, like just again because of the porpoising. But at the same time, I think Mercedes has, if it's not the best, it's at least the second best overall team, right? Because I know we kind of agree that Red Bull probably has the best one.
I think Red Bull has the best aero designers,
but I also think that Mercedes probably has the smartest engineers.
Yeah, probably.
And sure, and Mercedes, it might be the case that for the first couple of races they might not be as strong, but like once they're able to get the data that they need, I guarantee you they're going to be able to come with upgrades and improve their current package.
Oh yeah, and the other thing is that they have like the money to kind of have a rougher start to get more data. Like what is it, Red Bull in Barcelona didn't look that solid. Like they were struggling a little bit in Barcelona. They won in day 2 practice here in Bahrain. They were also having a little bit more issues, but what happened, they brought in a new aero package, and in day 3 Verstappen takes the fastest lap, right?
That's
so
it.
Yeah, so it wouldn't surprise me if like Mercedes is just trying to test all their theories, and then Bahrain come Bahrain next week, their car's gonna look different. You know, it might have side pods again, it might not, and it's just gonna blow everyone out of the water. Like that's kind of what I'm expecting, but because I can't see into the future right now, like looking at the car they have in testing, it's weird.
So another thing that I can't remember where I heard it, but it was basically what we've seen with these preseason tests. The teams that had the most opportunity with the wind tunnels, right, to test out the aerodynamics, they're the ones that have been able to start off strong, right? Alfa Romeo, despite looking really fragile and having a lot of reliability issues, they look fast and the package looks good, right? Minimal porpoising. I mean, it seems to handle well. Same with Haas, right?
Yeah.
Same with Williams, actually. Even though they're they're not looking like the most competitive team, but they seem to have a really good car and package under them.
They look like they're able to be competitive.
It goes to show, at least for me, that that time in the wind tunnel and that extra time spent preparing for the aerodynamic portion of it, it paid off. And obviously the top teams that had the least amount of time, so Mercedes and Red Bull, they've had to do a little bit more trial and error on track during the practices, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a big theory, I guess. Maybe theory might not be the right word, but there's a lot of thinking that while Mercedes, Red Bull, for example, might not come out right out of the gate as strong as usual, once they're able to get that data, once they're able to get a lot more laps in and be able to understand what it is that they have to do,
they'll just take it.
Yeah, they're just gonna fix whatever they need to fix, and they're still gonna be the teams to beat.
And I think that would be a good theory had Ferrari not existed. Ferrari just looks like the most competitive car. It looks like the absolute best car on the grid right now. They have basically no reliability issues. It's fast on every single type of tire. Leclerc and Sainz are constantly on the top of the leaderboards. Like, yeah, I think if like Mercedes and Red Bull want to try to take a bit more of a risk and try to test more things out to get to like compensate for the lack of the wind tunnel testing, I don't know how smart that's going to be if Ferrari can just immediately take it.
Well, that's it. And I think that at the very least, they are going to be the strongest team to begin the season, right? I'm all in the Ferrari hype train, by the way, and I've said it before.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Ferrari hype train is real. We're running Ferrari engines on this train. We've got some nice side pod grooves, and we gotta hop in and ride it, right? Mattia Binotto at the wheel. Let's go. But then, I mean, just kind of from what I saw in Barcelona and Bahrain, I mean, everybody knows that Ferrari has potentially the strongest driver lineup. Maybe Mercedes with Lewis and George now, but that remains to be seen. But you have somebody extremely talented like Charles Leclerc and so fast, and then
he's crazy,
somebody
man.
like Carlos Sainz, who the level of consistency and hard work, and he just seems like a good vibes type of dude too, right?
Yeah.
Like it just seems whatever team he goes to, he brings a level of calm and just seems like he elevates whatever team he's on.
He also like seems really hardworking. Like nothing on like any of the other racers or drivers, but like I don't know if like because I don't think he's even like ever like shown or talked about it. But like whenever I like see like Carlos, it always just reminds me like or always like makes me think of like that like he's like really putting the time into it, like being as fit as possible. Like I know Max loves like sim racing, and that's basically, to what I have understood, is what he does when he's like not in like an F1 car.
Yeah, you can catch him in iRacing.
Yeah. So like, but like Carlos Sainz, like it wouldn't surprise me if he's like low key doing something similar.
No, for sure. I think he's so. obviously when we say that, we're not trying to diminish the work that other drivers put in, right? But I do think that Carlos has to be one of the people that puts in the most amount of work just to his
looks
craft.
Like it.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see it. Because he's won. And everybody says he's one of the most underrated drivers. I don't know if that makes him underrated or maybe like rated, right? Because everybody has come to the same consensus that Carlos Sainz is one of the most underrated drivers. Don't overlook him, right?
Yeah.
But he's some of the performances that he's been able to pull off, and he's consistent. He's close to Leclaire, right? And everybody knows that Leclaire, you give him a good car, he'll give you a driver's championship most likely, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be, I mean, we're crushing hard on Ferrari right now, but it's with good reason. Do you think, now here's a big question, if the car is competitive and they can fight for a World Drivers and World Constructors Championship, will we see Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz have a little bit of a Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton rivalry?
Oh,
could we see that relationship maybe break down a little bit if both have a real good shot of the driver championship?
I'm going to say no. And I'm going to say no. I don't know enough about Charles. I don't know enough about both of them to really like make a definitive statement. But from like the relationship that like Sainz had with Lando, or Carlos had with Lando, while they were in McLaren, it seemed like they got along really, really well.
But they weren't fighting for a championship.
No, they weren't fighting. But like it seemed like they were getting off like really, really well. And again, with Carlos in Ferrari with Charles last year, it also looked like they were getting on really well. And I think with that goodwill that he's already like built up, I think it wouldn't devolve into a Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton kind of situation.
But I mean, you say that, but we also have to remember that Nico and Lewis were best friends since kids, which you can't say that about Carlos or Charles. So they get along well as teammates, but that, whatever kind of relationship they have now that's good, or Carlos and Lando, I don't think would be the same as what Lewis and Nico would have had being childhood friends and literally fighting for the same dream and getting to race for the same team and just reaching, their dreams. So I think the opposite. I think if they do have a chance to fight for a drivers' championship, maybe it's not going to be hate and toxic, right? But I definitely will not see them, being all friendly and happy-go-lucky with each other like they do now. And I think it could devolve. I mean, I'm not trying to start any drama here.
No. No, I think it could change, but like I don't know if it would get to the point like that Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton were where it was pretty rough. Like Toto in an interview said it was very toxic at pretty much at all points. I don't think it would ever. It's gonna get to that point.
Well, I guess we can agree to disagree on that particular point, but we can both agree that Ferrari is is probably going to be one of the teams to watch, and I'm excited.
As big as a HAAS fan as I am expecting my official guess of this season. Now that the season's basically is about to start, and people at the end of the season can come and yell at me for being so wrong and or so right. If I'm right, please buy me cookies.
What kind of cookies?
Yes, just any.
Okay.
Any. Yeah. But every listener has to buy me one. That's the thing. So my current guess is Ferrari will win the Constructors. And I don't actually have a good guess on who's going to take the victory. So I'm not going to take a guess on driver lineup right now, but I am going to take the official guess that I think Ferrari is going to be the team to win.
Okay, well, you heard it here, folks. I did actually have a bit of a segue myself. You went a little bit more into the Ferrari topic, but since you mentioned HAAS, I was gonna transition to the next talking point, which was Aston Martin, because I mean I like Aston Martin. I think I would consider myself an Aston Martin fan before every other team.
Fan or stan?
Yes. Yes. A fan most days, but I think it borders into stan. So it just depends.
A stan for Seb, a fan for Aston Martin.
I mean, he is my namesake, right? So it's kind of hard not to cheer for your namesake. And I mean, again, I like the type of person Seb is. I think is something that everybody can strive to work towards. So I don't think it's a bad combination to cheer for. But
so as a stan for Aston Martin, let me hear what's been happening.
Well, so it's when we did the word association game and Aston Martin was inconsistent, I can't think of any other word to go by but inconsistent or like, just the unknown, because Seb looked good with the car. He posted pretty fast times, right? Well within the top 10, within the top 6, I think. Maybe not on the last day. But it seems like the Aston Martin is difficult to drive, especially in low speed corners. The drivers have had a really hard time getting to grips with it. And a lot of the rumors that I've been seeing online say that Aston Martin is not pleased with the design of the car right now, and they're already working on a plan B for new specs and new upgrades, right?
Damn, yeah.
Which doesn't bode well if that comes to be true, right?
That's not what you want to be hearing.
I've also seen a lot of predictions as to where they're going to finish, and they're definitely according to the predictions, they're looking like a midfield team, but closer to the back, So it was a pretty rough testing. Not a lot of coverage in general, right? Like they weren't really like stimulating a lot of conversation within the paddock.
Yeah, I think HAAS had even more coverage than Aston Martin did.
Yeah, right. So, and that's the inconsistency part. It can mean one or two things, right? They could either be quietly doing well, picking up the data, making the change that they need, or they're just not doing anything significant enough to warrant talking about it, which would just mean in the season that they're going to be probably below average,
Yeah.
And that has a lot of bad implications, at least, again, for me, as a fan of Sebastian Vettel and Aston Martin, because I'm convinced that if Aston Martin is not competitive this year, Seb's gone. I think he doesn't need F1. And if he wants to, if he knows he's not going to be fighting for top positions in championships, I can just see him retiring and doing his own thing.
Yeah, again, in another interview, I think Seb said that his goals for the future is to be happy. And if he's not going to be happy in an Aston Martin car in the back of the pack, he's probably just not going to be there.
Exactly.
Again, exactly. That's an assumption.
So it's a bit worrying for me, especially because I do want to see strong performances by Aston Martin. So the 3 days of testing definitely left a lot to want from the team in terms of performance.
Yeah.
But again, just like with Mercedes, testing is never really indicative of what's going to happen in the season. And I will at least say I don't remember seeing anything about like major reliability issues for the vehicle, right? So that's a net positive. If they can maintain, a reliable enough vehicle, then even if they're not the fastest, maybe they'll be able to take advantage of opportunities that come up in certain races where there's a lot of chaos. So
and who knows? Maybe they might pull a HAAS-ish kind of thing this year.
Yeah, well, as long as they're not pulling a HAAS with what it was last year, just this year, next year, right?
No, what I meant is because I know their factory, I think by next year should be up and running.
Yes. Right? Yeah.
Right. So they might be taking it this year a bit lighter, so that next year with the factory and having more resources to put more money into it. But again,
fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed, because
be completely wrong, and they just might have a bad package.
Imagine how much it would suck to invest all that money on that mega complex, and you're already starting off on a bad foot, And from the sounds of it, it sounds like they're not starting off on the best foot. So
that's true.
But I mean, do you have anything else that you kind of saw or wanted to add on to the Bahrain preseason testing?
So it's something I actually heard from the post show from F1 TV that I'm gonna confirm next year fully, but it's something that did pop out be a bit interesting to me, which is that this is the last year that major engine redesigns are being done, meaning the engines we have right now are going to be the engines for until the new spec for the engine comes out, which actually really interested me.
I think it's 2025, right?
Yeah, so from here to, let's just say 2025, the current engines are the current engine. So if we see Ferrari with a really dominant engine, because they spent so much time and money working on it, we might actually see a few years of like Ferrari and Ferrari engine partner dominance.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of like their shot to get it right, basically.
Yeah, and also closely associated to that, this, not so many people are talking about it, but this is the first year of the Red Bull engine, like not the Honda engine, but the Red Bull engine, and it seems to actually be performing great.
Okay, so the Red Bull has their own engine produced in-house. Obviously, with Honda's help, I know a lot of Honda technicians went to work for the Red Bull power unit department, so we can think of it as a pseudo Honda engine.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's basically the Honda engine, but the IP bought from them for that engine, right?
Yeah.
It's not like Red Bull dramatically redesigned an engine in 1 year. That's not how that works. But it is, their engine. It's their branding on their engine, their maintenance, their everything.
Right.
So it is, at least for them, it seems it's going quite well.
Well, like you said, it's going to be exciting, and hopefully the teams, hopefully the engines are competitive enough with one another, so that we can actually have some excitement. Though to be fair, I mean, I think last season was probably the most exciting one, and it was only really two teams dominating the whole season. But obviously, we want to see more. Like I think it was 2012 where there were 9 different race winners or something like that, right? Something ridiculous.
Geez. So and that's with a lot less races.
Yeah, exactly. So it's exciting, and I'm really looking forward to next week where we can actually talk about the very first Grand Prix, which I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about. So make sure you stay tuned in for that.
I'm sure I'm going to be able to talk about, I'm sure I'm going to be able to talk 10 minutes for every minute that happens.
Yeah. A special 4-hour episode of Around the Paddock. You can call us the new F1 post show. But don't actually call us that because they might sue us.
Yeah, that's not.
So, all right. So for the cool down lap, I have a couple of topics picked out. Actually, I just wanted to go through one of them real quick. And it was the Forbes list of highest paid F1 drivers of 2021.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, the article is not necessarily the newest one, but I think, it's kind of cool just to see what the landscape was like last year as the new year begins, as the new season begins. So the manner in which they came up with these figures was by projected on-track earnings. So they took their salary plus the year-to-date bonuses that they receive, plus the total 2021 projected bonuses. And I just want to preface this by saying I'm not a financial expert, and I kind of feel like I'm saying I'm not an expert in a lot of things. So, I mean, the listeners might think that I'm an expert at nothing, but I promise I'm really good at Mario Kart. Okay. So my opinion is I would say pretty valid for this because I am also a racer, just a different breed of racer, built different.
Yeah.
So I'll give you the top 10 highest paid F1 drivers. Again, this is projected on track earnings. So number 1, we have our boy Lewis Hamilton, $62 million. This doesn't include sponsorships or anything outside of that, right?
No. Yeah.
Number 2, Max Verstappen with $42 million. And obviously now, having spoken about the big new contract he signed, once we revisit this at the end of 2022, it might look a little bit different. That gap might be closed a little bit further.
Yeah, I can imagine being a lot closer. Close.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Just like the gap on track.
Pretty much.
Number 3 is a public official. So the Spanish Minister of Defense, Fernando Alonso, with $25 million. My pleasure.
Yes.
$25 million, probably 24.5 million of those coming from Quimoa or something like that. Because, I mean, you can't have Alonso without Quimoa. Then you have Sergio Perez in 4th with 18 million.
Another
Minister
official
of Defense. Yeah, so the public officials of F1 are getting paid real well. But yeah, and after Perez, so in 5th was Vettel with 15 million.
Yeah.
So I mean, for some reason, Perez and Vettel.
Know. Yeah.
What?
I was gonna say, like, Sebastian Vettel, as we all know, the man of every hat, the firefighter, the race director,
did he do something? Engineer.
Yeah, inspector.
Firefighter,
engineer.
Seb. Yeah. So if anything, 15 million seems like too low of a number for all the hats that Vettel has. Should be 50 million for each of them. But no, I was kind of surprised to see Perez and Vettel up that high. I don't know why specifically, but especially Perez. Yeah, it just I was just kind of shocked.
I can see Vettel why he's so high up, but Perez it is a bit interesting. It might just be that Red Bull really did want him that much.
And Alonso.
Yeah, well, again, Alonso is like
third place, especially because he came back last year. So 6th place we have Charles Leclerc with 12 million.
Makes sense.
Probably need a little bit more if he decides to put more pianos or vehicles in his Monaco apartments. Because I mean, Charles, I don't know how you're getting those things up in those tiny apartments, but however you're doing it, you got to let me know, man. Okay, well, I know you get cranes and stuff, but I have to see it. Yeah, it's hard to believe. Then we have Valtteri Bottas with a cool 10 mil.
Very nice.
Danny Rick with another cool 10 mil.
Lando.
And then we have the Car-Lando duo. Yeah. So Lando in 9th with 9 million, so pretty fitting. And Carlos Sainz rounding up the top 10 with $8 million. So
I'm actually a little surprised with the fact that Lando is lower down than Danny. I'm going to be entirely honest with you. Given Lando's performance, I would have assumed it would be the opposite.
Well, we said that Danny Rick was more expensive, right? And these are on-track earnings. So, I mean...
And I can assume, like, these contracts were signed at, like, the start of 2021. So this was, like, before the entire season.
Yeah, plus whatever bonuses. Maybe Lando earned more bonuses, right?
Yeah.
Just due to his performance, kind of gets him up.
Yeah, I'm not really too sure about, like, the financial side of it. But it is interesting to see that Lando was lower down.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I know McLaren paid a butt ton for Daniel Ricciardo.
So did Renault as well.
Exactly. So I'm surprised he's that far down, to be honest. I'm surprised he's not higher. So that was just a quick little list of the highest paid F1 drivers. So for the next topic here in the cool down lab, just want to get your thoughts, Nico, on which teams you think are going to be competitive for this coming season and which ones won't be. So you don't have to go through all the teams, and I'm not going to go through all the teams either, but it's just based on what you saw in Barcelona, in Bahrain, based on what you've seen, hearing rumors or seeing in the news. Like, what are the teams that you think are going to be the most competitive?
So I already said that my money's on Ferrari winning the entire Constructors.
And I agree. So I think Ferrari will be one of them.
Yeah. I think Red Bull or Mercedes is going to be like 2-3. I think it's going to be with obviously Ferrari being number one, but not like, I'm not really sure where the two would lie.
No particular order.
Yeah. Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
Then I really don't know who would be like, because I don't like Alpine. Well, yeah,
the midfield is hard to predict, honestly, and I mean it's
and like.
But what about
I'm just gonna say
back end? What about the back markers then?
Wait. Right before I go for back end, I'm just gonna say I think, given the fact that I can't really see anything in the middle, like Alpine's low. Like I see, like Alpine's not doing well, and then McLaren has those brake duct issues. I'm gonna say fourth, maybe, hopefully, Haas. I'm just gonna say that, and then low down. I'm really not sure. Like, it's kind of all still in the air for me. Like Alpine is having issues. Aston Martin isn't looking that great, and they're thinking of a potential redesign. That's the rumor. McLaren's having the brake duct issue, so yeah, it's fast on the straights, but like they're gonna need to do.
It's not gonna help you if you can't stop the car to turn it.
Yeah, and if they change something to bring more air into the cooling ducts, it's most likely going to also reduce performance. So those three teams, kind of like they're going to be somewhere in the mid pack, and I fear they might actually drop down. I really hope McLaren does really well, and I hope they go to come fourth. And then for the rest of the teams, I'm not really sure. Honestly, it's like Alfa Romeo's looks pretty Alfa Romeo, so I guess like mid pack. And I mean, Williams would be really cool to see them do well, but I'm not entirely sure yet. And then AlphaTauri, I'll give you, AlphaTauri might be fourth, and then Haas fifth.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, AlphaTauri is easy to overlook, but they're a strong team.
They're a really strong team, and with Gasly, I think they're going to do really solid. And Yuki, who now has a better feel for the tracks.
So for me, I think we're in agreement. Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes, top three teams, competitive in terms of competitiveness. I feel like, maybe McLaren or AlphaTauri could be, best of the rest type of deal. It really just depends if McLaren is able to fix those issues that they've been having.
Fully agree with that. Yeah.
And in terms of the back markers, I see Alpine being there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Alfa Romeo, I see them being one of the back marker teams.
Yeah.
Same with Williams. I don't see them making a significant leap forward, just based on what I've seen. But I think those three teams will be the back markers. And I would honestly also say that like Haas could be in the midfield, but I'd put them kind of closer to the back. Like I can see them getting a lot more points than what they did last season, especially with Magnussen, and obviously Schumacher with that extra year of experience. But I think they will still need a little bit of work to catch up to the top teams.
I agree with you. I think if McLaren gets their cooling duct issues fixed well, they're going to be fourth. AlphaTauri, I think they're probably going to be fifth. They with Gasly and Yuki, it's being really solid. And Haas could be sixth. I think they're just going to be like up and down the charts for probably the entire season. I can see them sixth. And I agree with you. Alpine's probably going to be like bottom. And so is Williams, and
All right, so shunt of the week, where we give our predictions for the Bahrain Grand Prix next week, but just go through the shunt of the week. So you want to start us off?
Yeah. Very sadly, once again, it has to go to Haas, because I think we gave him another shunt a while ago. Yeah, but actually, even last podcast.
I'll put a little asterisk on that shunt for Haas.
It's not their fault.
Well, that, and I think, in my opinion, they were also able to pull it together and make up for the shunt.
100%. Yeah. But their cargo plane just didn't work when they were transporting Haas cars to Bahrain from Istanbul. So their stuff did not arrive on time. And they were given extra session time, which is when Magnussen and Schumacher got their fastest laps. Like Magnussen fastest lap of second day of testing, and then Schumacher second in day 3. But their cargo ship did not work. It looked like a Haas from last year.
I think I heard somebody say that they were wondering if Haas built their factory on top of like an ancient burial ground or something like that, because some of the luck that they've been getting is just unbelievable.
It's horrendous.
Yeah. For sure. Big shunt. Reminds me of Williams a couple years ago when they didn't have their parts ready for testing either, right?
Yeah, that's true.
It was a good Drive to Survive episode, honestly. I felt really bad for Claire and everybody else just kind of running around to get these parts ready in time, but when it came to drama and excitement, I was hooked on that. So no, I'd say that's probably the big shunt of the week.
Yeah, I would argue though the other shunt is arguably, while smaller in scale, I think it's a bigger shunt in depth. Like it's not as wide as a shunt, but it's a much deeper shunt, which is just Alpine. They don't look good, not right now.
Yeah, I mean, the drivers were able to put on some good laps and good performances. But I think that's the consensus in general.
And it doesn't help that Alpine also said that they're looking for less reliability but more performance, but their car just doesn't look that performance or reliable.
Yeah. Agreed.
So they have the worst of both. They're the opposite of Ferrari right now. Ferrari is both really reliable looking and fast.
Yeah, and honestly, it makes me feel bad for Fernando. Obviously, and Ocon as well. But Fernando's had some, if we're talking about bad luck, I think Fernando might live on an ancient burial ground because after his stint at Renault back in 2005, 2006, right, like the early 2000s. Actually, I should say mid 2000s, not early 2000s, but afterwards, he's had really bad luck with, that poor Ferrari car back in like 2012. I mean, he still pulled off a miracle and drove out of his mind to be competitive, but obviously that Ferrari car was just not strong. Then his stint at McLaren as well with a really weak engine, GP2 engine, right?
Yeah.
And now potentially a weak Alpine team. So I feel for him.
Fernando, if you ever received like a mysterious package with like a piece of jewelry in like the last decade, that might be it.
Throw it away.
Return it.
Return
into
the ocean. Because it is not helping.
And I know this might be a bit trickier. Contact Nathan Drake. Have him return it.
There you go. Shouts out Uncharted. Wait, Nathan Drake as in Tom Holland or Nathan Fillion?
No. You go into Naughty Dog Studio and the actor, not the actor who did Nathan Drake, just Nathan Drake.
Oh, yeah. Just manifest the actual Nathan Drake. I see.
Exactly.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Well, or Sully.
But hopefully they can get it together. The pink livery looked really good, so I'm excited to see that for the first two races. And then I will not be excited to see the blue and pink livery, but a discussion for another week, I suppose. Cool. So
predictions
before we leave. I want to hear your predictions. Your top three. What do you think is going to be the top three for Bahrain?
Top three.
First, second, third.
I can see this going two ways, so I'm going to give you two predictions. Okay.
Well, I mean, that's just widening the net,
Well, yeah, but it's not going to be as big as a widening as you can imagine. It's either going to be Leclerc, Verstappen, Hamilton, or Leclerc, Sainz, Verstappen. That's my prediction.
Okay.
Yeah. My prediction is basically either Mercedes is sandbagging, so then Hamilton's on that list, or they're not sandbagging, then I bump up Sainz.
I would put, I think I'd put both Ferrari drivers in the top three. Honestly, I'd be happy to see Sainz win because it would be his first win in the first race of the season. So I'm just going to put Sainz as first. No pressure, Carlos, but you better deliver. So I'm going to put Sainz first. I'm going to put Charles second. And that's a lot of pressure on Ferrari, but they're looking really good. So if everything goes well, they should be up in the podium. And then in third place, I would see Verstappen. And if I had to switch any out, I would maybe put somebody like... I'd put Gasly in there.
Yeah.
That's like my dark horse, like out there prediction. I'd put Gasly in the podium.
That'd be cool to see him. there's a F1 races are always really hard to predict because anything can happen. You know, like
are they though? The Hambot Vers were like Hambot Ver.
Yeah,
podium finish was like the most predictable one you could think of.
I know, that's true. But what I mean is like there's always a possibility that like, not to razz on McLaren, but like McLaren hasn't fixed their brake duct issues, and then Lando just doesn't brake well because the brake duct issues, and just takes out like 4 racers. You know, kind of like Bottas did.
Yeah, so, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So it's always a bit trickier to predict the outcomes, but yeah, I'm going with Ferrari, Red Bull.
Watch Nikita Mazepin comes as an independent driver, independent team, takes the win.
Uruguay F1.
Yep.
Yeah. Mazepin
and then it's
gonna be, it's gonna be Mazepin, and it's gonna be what's the other racer? The other Russian?
Oh, Kvyat,
yeah.
The torpedo. Now talk about taking people out.
So yeah, it's gonna be so this is my new prediction. It's gonna be Mazepin, Kvyat, 1-2, and there's not gonna be anyone else.
All right. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, we got a week to see if our predictions are right, and to our audience, if you guys have your own predictions on how the Bahrain GP is going to finish, who the top 3 are going to be, I mean, obviously send them to us. You could send us an email at aroundthepaddockpodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach us out on Instagram at aroundthepaddockpodcast, or Twitter
on YouTube as well,
ATP_pod. And you can also look us up on YouTube at Around the Paddock Podcast, and leave us a comment there, letting us know what you think. Also, let us know what teams you think are going to be the competitive and least competitive ones. I want to hear what you guys think too. I scour the internet a lot to see what other people say, but they're not telling us. I want you guys to be part of the conversation too. So feel free to reach out to us through those means, and we'd love to hear what you think.
Yeah.
All right, Nico. Well, that's pretty much everything that I had for this week. Last week before the season officially gets underway. So you have anything you want to say to the audience before we take off? Yeah,
just one last thing. Because you listened to this episode, you're all contractually obligated to give me a cookie if my prediction of Ferrari wins. I'm just saying.
All right, you better write it down.
I can't hold you to it, but you know, it is in words. It's in a recording now. So
yeah, it's out there. It's out there. So
my hands are tied. If Ferrari wins, then I'm expecting cookies.
If Ferrari wins, I'm expecting Nico to gain about 100 pounds with all the stuff he's going to get. So
yeah.
All right, man. Well,
sounds good. Yeah.
I guess we'll see everybody next week for the very first race. And I hope it comes by real quick because I can't wait.
Oh, yeah, me too.
With that being said, I want to say thank you to everybody for taking the time to listen into the episode, for continuing to support the podcast, just listening to two brothers ramble on about F1 for about an hour. But yeah, we'll see you next week. Take care, everyone. Yeah. Have a good night and good day wherever you are. Peace out.
Yeah. Bye.